Welcome to this episode of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the multi-layer workflow within Fusion, and more specifically with PSDs and other image files that have multi-layers. So let's go ahead and roll this intro and let's jump into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, cause we're learning Fusion together.
So within Fusion, we've always been able to use multi-layers, and we usually input it up here. So if we go to Fusion and say we need to bring in a PSD file with multiple layers or different things, but we can select this PSD right here. And if I select my little retro logo, you can see it just broke out my image files in individual layers. So each layer within a PSD, when I'm using Adobe Photoshop, creating these layers, is inputting all these layers. So if I look at my final one, there's my little logo. The only thing Fusion does is it builds it backwards. So in Photoshop, this technically was my back layer, and this was my first layer. So it just builds it backwards. So just remember that instead of being from the bottom top, it rebuilds it from the top down. But this is how it usually, or it used to, or always has built multi-layer PSD files within Fusion. And all it's doing is it's renaming it to normal, but these are just merge nodes. That's all they are, is merge nodes, merging them all together so you get your final image. And additionally, this is really the only way you can do it in the free version, because I don't believe the layer system or the layer pipeline works unless you have the studio version. And we're going to jump into that because it's a much more sophisticated and better way to work. But if you need to work simple and just do basic stuff like this, this is fine. But I'm going to delete this and we're going to cover the multi-layer pipeline. So instead of importing that, I'm just going to drag and drop my PSD file in here. So there we go. I've got my little PSD file and it's working fine. Now, if I need to bust this out into individual layers, I can do that. Because if I go up top up here, and if I look at my little layers, I have all my layers from my PSD file named how I named them in the PSD file. So make sure you're naming these when you're creating your PSDs, and they will be named correctly. So if I look, I've got my little background layer here. I've got my little headphones there. And I've got my text in different layers. And if I look at my default, that's my default of it all combined. Now, what we can do is we can split these into individual layers without having multiple copies. So for instance, I'm just going to grab a simple merge. And if I bring this image into this merge and we look at our merge here, if I go over to the settings tab and we look down here, we have this layers area. And this is where we tell what layers we want pushed through individual nodes. So by default, it's just going to have our default layers, which is going to be every single layer here. But I can come down here and I can select all layers, or I can select multiple layers if I want to. And this comes in play on other nodes. So, we'll get into that. But for right now, I'm just going to leave this on default layer. Here it's asking me what my background layer is right here. And I'm just going to tell it I want it to be my actual background, the one I named background. So my background layer is the only one coming through. And right now we don't have any foreground image, but I can technically take this, input it into my foreground as well. And if I go my little merge layer, I can tell it that I only want, say, those headphones to be my foreground image. So now I've only got those two coming through my little merge. Now I could, if I wanted to, also grab another merge, bring this into the background here. And if I look at this merge, you notice only those are popping through. But I can go to my settings here. If we go to our layer, you can see we've got our default or all layers going through. And again, I can repick my background layer. If I select merged, that's my little merged layer coming in there. I can select match up here for my background layer. So it's going to match what my output of this previous layer was. So now I've got that. And then I could go ahead and bring this input in right here. And for my foreground, I could say just pick my little C in there. So You can see this is pretty powerful in how you can manipulate and build and combine your different layers. So speaking of combining, let's say we just wanted to do something simple to this logo here, and we want to do different animations. Say maybe we wanted the C to spin. We can do that. So instead of building all this in Fusion, we can actually build our graphics in Adobe Photoshop or another image editing software and bring in those multi-layers. So let's go ahead and just delete this. And the way that works is I could technically bring in a multi-merge. So let's say on this first one coming in our background, we wanted to be able to manipulate the color of this background. I could simply just select a color corrector, input it. And if I look at my color corrector, you notice it's all my layers. So if I go here and change my color, it's changing my color of all my layers. I don't want that. I only want the background. So if I go to my color corrector settings, you notice this too has our little layers area. And almost every node in Fusion has this layers area, so you can tell it what layers you want to bring in and what layers you want to manipulate. So we want to process all of our layers because we want all our layers coming through, but we want to tell it what input layer we want to use. And we just want our background layer. So that's the only one we want to manipulate on this color corrector. So now if I go to my color correction up here, I can change that color. And let's change it to a bright purple so we know we're changing this down the line. So once I have that done, I can go ahead and bring this into my background and my multi-merge. If I look at my multi-merge, I go to my settings. You can see our layers. It's automatically bringing in that little background color of that. But if I selected my background, you notice it just went to my original background because what's happening is it's pushing through that original image of our background layer here. So that's extremely powerful when we're building stuff in this little pipeline. So if I select auto, like I said, it's automatically going to bring in that node information. I can also select match. So it's going to match that node information. So I'm just going to select that to auto. So it's just automatically bringing in that background layer. Now in this area right here for a multi-merge, this is only affecting our background input. All of our other inputs here are going to be dependent on how we merge. So for instance, let's say we want to bring that white font back in here. So I could bring this in. If I go my little merge up top here, I can start selecting what layers I want in. So let's say I only want this white font. Now it is broken up to 3 separate little things. So I could select my first one. So now you notice our first little font is in that first layer. But a better way to do this is I can disconnect that and we can use maybe another multi-merge just for that font. So I could say, bring this background in, and on this multi-merge, go to our settings, and I can just select that, that first white font to bring in. I can bring another layer in, and on this layer, under our merge or our multi-merge area, I'm going to select the othered, the last part of Be Discovered, because that's the name of my recording studio is Be Discovered. But let's say I want this C to spin. So what I want to do is I'm going to want to bring in a transform, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my transform. Now on my transform, again, we can go to this little settings area right here, process all my layers, and I can say I only want this text C layer. So now only that layer is on our little transform. So I can transform it however I want and I'm good to go. So one thing I got to do is change my little pivot area. So if I go into controls, I switch my pivot up, just bring that over and ish it. I would be more precise if I was really doing this for production. But now I can go ahead and change my angle of that C and we're good. So I can go to the beginning, create a keyframe on my angle, go to the end, and let's actually go clockwise. There we go. So now if I play, our little C is spinning. So now I can bring this C into this multi-merge. And if I go to this multi-merge, I push play, now we've got that coming in because it's automatically going to select that transform layer coming in. So just know, don't make the mistake of doing, say, this. So let's actually hide this one and I'll show you an example. Say we brought that C in and we went here and I went to this layer. We're going to pretend that transform isn't there, remember? And I picked my C. So now I've got all my stuff there, all my fonts I want. And I said, hey, now I want to go ahead and change this transform. So if I grabbed a transform and plugged it in on top of this one to make that change, and I didn't want it there. I wanted it right here. Plug that back in. If I go to my transform and make any changes, you notice you're not going to see it happening. And that's because on our merge, we really need to make sure we're making any changes before, because if you notice when we did that, we brought in the transform node, and this one we're actually bringing in our little layers from our original footage. So any transforms we do, you're not going to see it. So let's go ahead and delete that and delete this one. But now we've got our fonts up there correctly. So I know I'm moving fast, but I'm trying to make this short because this could get very long. So now we've got our font and we want to bring that into this. So now if I take this multi-merge and plug it in, and for some reason it's not there. If I select auto, it's just automatically going to bring in that merge from up there. So now if I push play, look, we've got our little spinning C in our logo. Now, if I want to bring in more stuff, so I could bring in, say, the headphones that are up top. But if I want to be able to change the colors of those headphones, I'm going to bring in a color corrector first. So let's bring in a color corrector. I'm going to go to this color corrector, and on this one, go to my layer settings, and I'm going to select my headphones as my input layer. So now I can go to my headphones and change my headphone color. So I can bring this into my little multi-merge there. And if I go to my multi-merge, you notice our color corrector just connected up. Now, again, make sure you're leaving out auto, because if you get confused and say, hey, I want to bring my headphones in, and we go back to our color corrector, we make any changes, you notice it's not changing that color. So it's on green. It should be green right now. So if I go back to our multi-merge and I select auto, look, it's green because it's automatically bringing that in instead of doing something wanky with that layer that's popping through. So same thing with the rest of our text. We can go ahead and bring that in. And if I wanted to, I could bring a multi-merge in, and let's go ahead and bring this first one in. And on this multi-merge, I want this first part of the text. So I can go to settings, go to my little layers here, text studio, bring in another one. And on this merge layer, I want my text plus sign, bring one more in. And on this one, I want my text label. So now I've got those independent fonts on this little multi-merge. So I know it's getting kind of crazy, but this multi-merge, now I could go ahead and add a color corrector on if I wanted to. That way I can change the color of my font, but I got to tell it what layers to bring in. So if I go to my settings here, if you notice, if I go to studio, it's only bringing that one in, but I want to bring all of them in. So I could just select match. So it's going to bring in the match of everything coming in. So now I can go here and change my color up of my little fonts. And then I could bring this in, plug it into our little merge, and there we go. We've got individual color corrector for all of our independent little areas. So on this, let's change this to a blue. And there we go. We got a crazy color logo. Now, if I wanted to bring in a background, it's going to be a different size. I can bring in a merge, a background, and put that black background, go from our little multi-merge here into this one. And there we go. We've got our logo on a black background, and we've got our little spinning C that we can independently change and animate. And you can animate anything on each independent layer using this system. And it's non-destructive because If I go way down here at the bottom, let's say I added another merge. We brought this background in. Even if I went from here, I could go into this one, and it's right now bringing everything in. But if I go here, go to my settings, bringing in my layers, I can say I want my foreground layer to be my text C. So now if you notice my text C, you can barely see it, is still there, non-destructive. All my layers are being pushed through for manipulation down the line. So there you go. That's using the multi-layer pipeline within Fusion with PSDs. In the next episode, I'm going to do basically the same thing, but we're going to use multi-layer EXRs. So say you export a multi-layer EXR from your 3D program, how you could just bring in this one file and manipulate everything on the multi-layer pipeline. So I'll see you in the next episode.